Добре дошли обратно в залата. Сега ще дам думата на господин Vangelis Stykas, който, както казах и ви обещах преди почивката, ще ви обясни какви са начините да поддържате винаги зареден вашия бъдещ електрически автомобил. Знаете, че електрическото бъдеще е неизбежно. Както той каза, говорил вече на десетки BSides евенти, така че надявам се лекцията му бъде интересна за всички. Наслаждавайте се. Господин Stykas.
Can you hear me? Or should I move to the microphone? Now?
Now it's okay.
Let me put it behind.
Do you want my assistance?
If you can put it in like somewhere. Hello everyone. I'm the first one that is going to speak in English. Sorry for not being fluent in Bulgarian, although I did my master's in here. The only Bulgarian that I know is Dobre and Voda. Sorry about that. So my talk is Charge My Car for Free Forever. Who am I? I was a senior penetration tester at Pendesh Partners at Deal yesterday. Today I'm starting my new role as a CTO on a startup that I'm helping secure, which is called Tremo. I'm mostly interested in researching API and IoT API devices and web application security. And I'm finishing my PhD developing a machine learning algorithm that will find low-hanging fruits on APIs. You can also find me, and please follow me on Twitter on EVStikas. So today's talk is going to be about EV chargers and electric vehicles in general. Electric vehicles can be split into two categories. The one category is Tesla, and the other category is pretty much everything else. If you are an Elon Musk fanboy, this is not going to be about Tesla, so you can leave right now. The car industry is focused on electric vehicles. Bulgarian government, I also know, that is following the EU chargers, and they are trying to stop selling petrol and diesel vehicles until 2030. There are right now more than 3.5 million electric vehicles in the world, and it's projected to be more than 5 million electric vehicles in the world by end of next year. The EV chargers is a booming market. It has a lot of competition. It has smart devices, and whenever you see smart, it means something else. We're going to see it on the next slide. It will keep growing to the millions. The plan is to have one charger for each household, which means a lot of smart devices. And there are 23 startups in the field in addition to the big players, which is ABB, Tesla, and everyone else. So Hipponen's law, whenever an appliance is described as being smart, it means vulnerable, and it means you will be able to hack it. The EV chargers categories are the home chargers, which is on home installation. Every appliance has access to the LAN networks. It's usually slower, about 20 kilowatts per hour, than public chargers, which is the other category. It's the chargers that we are going to see at the public roadside. They're fast chargers that are up to 0.5 megawatt. They have OCPI interconnection, which is we are going to see what OCPI means, and the accounts can work globally. A quote that the global EV fleet in 2020 is consuming as much as Belgium, and in 2030 it's going to consume pretty much as Europe consumes electricity-wise. All the attacks that we are going to see in here are cloud-based attacks. There's no hardware hacking, there's no mumbo-jumbo, there's no buffer overflows. So if that floats your boat, unfortunately, I'm not your man. So what we are doing in cloud API, what we are doing in API hacking, it's a set of low-hanging fruits. When you're building APIs, you have to at least fix the low-hanging fruits and then the medium-hanging fruits. As we're going to see later down the road, we're going to see that most of the issues are rush-to-market issues, and you have to know that authorization is not authentication, and if you don't know it, someone is going to hack you. All attacks in the stock are cloud-based, as I said. There's no physical access required. Most of the hacking was done from my house in Greece, and the chargers were based either in the UK or in the US. Most of them are really low-hanging fruits, insecure direct object reference or standard authorization bypasses, or even no authentication at all, because who needs authentication? And all the issues found are logic flows. There's no injection, no SQL injection, no XSS, as this kind of testing without authorization, as we saw on the previous talk, would be breaking the CMA. CMA means Computer Misuse Act, and you would be committing a crime. Also, whoever wants to start cloud API testing, you are not going to get any CVE at all, unfortunately. I can tell you a lot of stories. We have ended up owning 500 million routers, and we didn't get a CVE because we did it over a cloud. What we're going to see in this talk, APIs missing authentication, which is ridiculous, APIs checking for authentication and not authorization, APIs allowing you to upgrade yourself to admin while you are a user, and API that leak everything because you know just a static key. This is a third-party backend cloud. As we're going to see, we ended up owning a cloud infrastructure that was not only handling EV chargers, but it was also handling 1 million other devices. This is the case for many Chinese branded clouds. As I told you, CMI and crime alert, API research is really, really tricky. Try as hard as you can to never ever interact with a device you don't own. If you mistakenly do it, notify the vendor immediately. If you're taking a platform admin, you are breaking the CMA. You have to be 100% sure that you know what you're doing, or you will end up in a really difficult situation. Sorry. So what are the goals for this talk? When we are attacking a charger, the bare minimum is to control other devices that you don't own. So start, stop, the PII leak. PII stands for personal identifier information. We have to know other users' email, name, and location. Medium level means that you can flash the firmware, so you can break the device or pivot to the network. And the total home run is platform admin, so you have access to everything. We're going to start with the home chargers. Unfortunately, on BSides Dublin and on BSides Sofia, I wanted to present a new charger cloud that I also owned, but it's still not fixed. And if I was going to present it, I would be dropping a 0-day, which is bad and a crime, I was told. So, yeah. Unfortunately, we're going to name it Charger X. It was disclosed 4 months ago. It's still vulnerable. It has 2,500 installation. We have platform admin in there. We can access everything. We can delete everything. But it's going to be still Charger X. Let's get a couple of things also out of the way. The first one is Russia incident. I don't know if you saw the news. An Ukrainian vendor has disabled all the EV charging stations that was owned. This was not a hack. This was a vendor changing their own devices. It disabled all chargers in an M11 highway, which is St. Petersburg to Moscow, rendering every EV travel impossible. The second thing, I have an alibi for both of them, first of all, is the electric car charging that was found on the Isle of Wight. It was a hack. It was pretty similar to the IDOS that we're going to present there. All the chargers were showing porn and porn messages. There is an active investigation on that, and from what I know, they're going to find whoever did it. This is the first charger that we're going to present. It's called Project EV or ATES or Shenzhen Grovat. It was one of the worst. It had the Department of Transport approval. Department of Transport approves what you can install on your home in the UK. Grovat Cloud had a huge number of devices, like over 3 millions that were not only limited to EV charger, there were also photovoltaic, there were also kettles, there were a lot of things that were controlled by that cloud. Growatt and Shenzhen are both China-based companies. As you're going to see, you can see in here that there was no authentication or authorization on any call. It was just the first login, and then it was just you were passing the charge ID. You could change the charger ID that were consecutive numbers, so you can easily brute force everything. What we got was full functionality on all devices, lock and lock. We could remote firmware update. There was no signature check, so we could pivot into the internal network. We could pivot into internal networks of companies that had that installed. Obviously, there was a PII leak. You could brick and never start it again. And we also got platform admin. Also, whatever is in red in there is a crime, it's a break of the CMA, you should never do it. So, how did the disclosure go? They did not respond for weeks, they only responded when they were asked by the BBC. They eventually fixed it after first saying they fixed it, but it was not fixed. And they fixed it with a stateless login, so they have no cookie, no authorization, no authentication at all. You just send the authentication and then somehow it works. I didn't want to look at all afterwards because frankly it was a really, really bad platform. I'm giving them a fail, F-, really bad. Second one is the biggest of the home chargers. It's called EVBox. It has a global install base of over 200,000 charging points. They're based in Amsterdam. They're obviously Department of Transport approved, and they're acquired by Engie for 300 million pounds. They had a really good API, everything checked. There was no obvious issues, so I was really desperate. Can anyone find what the issue is? As you can see, when you're editing your profile, you're also passing the roles. So if you go to the roles and say, I don't know, I'm an admin or I'm a tenant admin, we end up having a full platform admin with access to everything, all the users, all the PII. So you had total compromise of everything. There was PII leakage, you had all admin functionality, you could log in to servers. It was a really, really bad situation from a really minor thing. We got platform admin. They were really, really good. They responded in 2 hours. They fixed in 24 hours. They double checked that everything was fixed. They had an excellent response. I'm giving them, they were a really, probably the best disclosure that I ever made. That I did a lot of disclosures in the past couple of years. Third one is the Wallbox. It has around 100,000 users. They're based in Barcelona. They merged with the Capital Acquisition Corp, and they raised $300 million. They had a lot of actually they had 6 different instances of second level IDOR, which means that you could just pass charger IDs, which is consecutive numbers, and you will end up with total control over all chargers. You could lock and lock. There was no way to firmware update, unfortunately, so there's no platform admin and there's no PII leakage. They responded really the next day. They fixed it in a couple of days, and after I rechecked and re-engaged after a month because I found the second issue, which was the same as the first one, which seems to really bad for them because they didn't actually fix the underlying cause, but they fixed just the cause that were just the issue that was reported. They fixed it on a couple of days again. They wanted to engage so that I could check them, the company that I worked for could check them, but they also wanted an NDA, so yeah, I'm not going to sign an NDA because I don't like being forced to sign NDA. So not great, not terrible, that they did what they could. The IoT charger is probably the first one that we took a look at. It's right now on 20,000 users estimated. They're based in London. They had typical rush-to-market issues. They had the Raspberry Pi as the base, which can be easily rooted. There is no bootloader security. The recovery of full source code, and by full source code I mean 2 Python scripts that had hard-coded credentials, full documentation, because I didn't want to understand Python. I just read the comments, and it was there. As you can see that they have everything. They have a static key in there, and I ended up, we could fully decrypt everything. You could take control of everything. You could mimic the server and make a botnet, because why not? You didn't need to reflash, because you can say that from now on, I'm the server, you're going to do what I say. So they PII leaked, they credentially leaked. We got a platform admin, we got a lot of different stuff. They responded in a timely fashion. They worked it hard into moving away from the Raspberry Pi model and moving to somewhere else. But their new and improved EO Mini uses a Raspberry Pi again, because why not? You know. I'm going to say that I'm not a hardware expert, so this is from people who know how easy Raspberry Pi is to be hacked. There is a valid prototype. It is a valid prototype device. It's not a good idea to put the Raspberry Pi in production. It allows an easy extraction of all stored data because it has an SD card, obviously. It's easily rootable, and there is no way to have a secure bootloader. I know that Raspberry Pi is trying to solve that, but until now, there is no easy way of having a secure bootloader. Moving next to the public chargers, we're going to have ChargePoint. ChargePoint is one of the biggest, after Tesla and ABB, public charger providers in the world. It has 114 number of spots, which is close to 500,000 chargers, because as you can see, each spot has 3 to 6 chargers. And it had a publicly exposed unauthenticated GraphQL endpoint with introspection enabled. It was potentially leaking their full schema. They wanted no authentication at all, but as I said before, you cannot try and access things that you don't own, because you are committing a crime. The API research is really tricky, because you know it is there, you can access it, but the moment that you are accessing something you don't own, you're committing a crime, so don't do that. The bad thing is that ChargePoint responded in an hour. They fixed it on the same day. They had an excellent response. They acknowledged that there was an issue in there, and they said that, okay, you could have accessed it, and we wouldn't press charges to you. So I'm giving them I'm giving them the gold medal, but unfortunately I didn't have all the data. So they acknowledged it, but I didn't actually hack it. Now moving next to potential issues and how these things can be weaponized. There is the OCPI, which is the Open ChargePoint protocol, which is an application protocol that all public chargers can connect to each other and use their own accounts to other protocols. They have a protocol which is called roaming. There's connection between providers and manufacturers, which means that if you find a vulnerability in one platform, it will lead to everyone being vulnerable. Much like the mobile network, it's called roaming. So let's say if you find something in ChargePoint, you will be able to hack every other platform that is connected with OCPI. What you could do is steal energy, have someone else pay for it. You could obviously PII leak. You could deny service to legitimate users, because you could make them stop charging, and it gets way worse. So the even worse potential issues is, this is a really nice page, that's a whole scenario. It was presented by Willem Westerhoff. I hope I pronounced it correctly. It was an attack based on photovoltaic vulnerabilities that can potentially destabilize the power grid. And we're going to take it from another point of view. And, you know, the thing with power grids in Europe is that when we in Greece or you in Bulgaria need more power, you're going to get from Greece, we're going to get from Bulgaria or Macedonia, or, you know, they are interconnected. Nations are constantly exporting and importing power so that they help each other during crisis times. So for the Willem scenario, the horse scenario, instead of limiting the PV power, or limit it, we're going to see it at another talk you're going to see on DEF CON this year, we're going to maximize the need for power. So everyone making a cup of tea at halftime during the World Cup match is something that the power grid operators are prepared for, but they're not prepared for the chargers to be on, off, and on again. It will gain a lot of power, and it could potentially black out power grids. And if you also keep in mind that you can, with the PII leak, know where its charger is located. For this to work, unfortunately, you need to be connected to the chargers. You cannot. You have to have a car connected to the charger. You cannot say the charger take as much power as you need. So this kind of attack would need to take place in the evening. Any questions? Thanks for listening. No questions? Excellent. Oh.
When we're picking a charger for our phones, is there a database or some list of providers where we can check whether they have any exposed vulnerabilities, or do we just have to grab a device, pick it apart, and see if there's a browser find there?
Okay. This is a broader IoT devices question. What I usually say is you have to consider when you buy an IoT device to buy something from a well-reputable company. Vulnerabilities are going to happen. The thing is you want a company that will stand by the vulnerability, fix it as soon as possible, acknowledge it, and push an update to you. So yes, there is the CVE database that you can see who has what. There is also the IoT database that you can see their FCC and what they're composed from. But usually I'm just saying, if you know the company, go with it. Don't go with a random Chinese company. If you own the device, you can do it whatever you want. So if no, I have bought, the company that I work for bought each of the device, so we could prove that we could break it without breaking the law. If you own the device and I break it, I obviously break the law. But if I own the device, then I'm not breaking the law. If I take platform admin, so I have access to PII and interact with a device that you own, then I break the law. Unfortunately, the CMA, I'm talking about the UK law in here, but I don't know about Bulgaria, I don't know, and the Greek law says that if you access something that you don't own, you break the law. It's a little bit, not a little bit, a lot outdated, and a lot of lobbying is happening so that we can change that, but until then, unfortunately, it is what it is. And I cannot tell you to commit a crime. I'm telling you not to commit a crime. Any other questions?
What is the need for the centralized admin platform, especially for the home chargers?
Can you a little bit?
What is the manufacturer vendor purpose having a centralized admin database, something with all home chargers connected to it?
This is, again, let's look at the IoT level. I'm going to look at the IoT level. If you remember 10 years ago when we were installing our own IoT cameras, we were saying now we need to port forward our routers to do something, which you and me, we could do it, but my mother could do it. My father, who is tech illiterate, couldn't do it. So they say you don't need anymore. We are going to punch through your router, and just by using our APIs and our application, our mobile application, you will be able to control your device. That's the case from the chargers. They install it and they just want to have an easy way in and an easy way out, which is also an easy way in and an easy way out for anyone who is I don't know, a hacker? Did that answer? Okay. Anyone else? Thank you.